What is going on, everybody? How's it going? We are back with another live stream, vibe sessions, studio sessions. We are vibe coding an app. And I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. This is quite the journey for me. And started this session, this series on my channel to one, require me to show up every day and produce content for my community, but also to show you guys and inspire you guys how to build applications and how to leverage the modern tools we have with us today. So if you are on YouTube and you're not doing anything with your time, hopefully you are on my channel and you can pick up some skills to make yourself some money. Now, we are in a golden age right now with artificial intelligence. Um, that's quite amazing. And we have access to so many things, so many tools that a lot of great minds have built for people to leverage. And you want to be ahead of the curve. So I'm Designer Malcolm. This is my channel. On this channel, we cover all things design, from fashion design, product design, UI design, you name it. You can go on my channel. You can see what kind of content I got on there. If you're vibing with me, if you love the content, all I ask is you just throw us a thumbs up, a like, share it with some of your peers, your peeps, anybody in your circle who you think would like this type of information, who would love this content. And yeah, so let's get right into it. So where do we leave off at? Yesterday, we left off at Builder. So we started to kind of go through this tool that we're working on. And if you viewed the stream from yesterday, uh, one of the commenters brought up a great question, and I think this is something I kind of want to address before we move forward. And this is actually something that can hold a lot of people back, right? And so the question was, isn't this market oversaturated, right? And my answer was, I don't care. Who cares, right? Who cares if the market is oversaturated? But that wasn't really a good answer to that. Um, a better answer to a question like that is, well, how about you frame your question differently, right? Rather than focus on a tool that you're building and whether or not the market is saturated, you should ask yourself, are you building something that can serve a specific customer or an industry and it can serve them well? Because believe it or not, saturation is a good indicator that there is opportunity in a market. And you do not have to be you don't have to be an innovator to really do well. We can look at this in history, right? Over time, historically, we had MySpace, right? And Zuckerberg could have easily been like, "Oh, well, the social media space is a little saturated, so let me not build Facebook." No, what he did was he built the same darn thing as MySpace, but he made it 1% better. He made it 1% different. And I think that's the lens you want to put on when you're going into business. And specifically this channel, we're all about building software, designing this specific series. I mean, we're all about building software and coming at it from a design lens. And what's important to know about design is we don't look at saturation, we look at problems, and we look at problems because if we can solve problems, we can provide a solution. And it kind of brings me back to what is design. And a lot of people may think design is art, you know, design is creativity. And I would have to challenge that school of thought because at its core, design solves problems, right? Those are all elements of design. Those are all elements and characteristics that can make you a good designer. Understanding rhythm, understanding balance, right? Understanding color theory. But those aren't what make, or those aren't what define good design. And I would almost argue that what really defines good design is that product, or that solution, does it truly solve a problem? And you can see this throughout a lot of industries. Some of the best design in furniture design, and perhaps we'll explore that one day, but Swedish furniture design is amazing because in a lot of aspects of what they produce, they simplify products, but they also provide products that are engineered in a way that are sophisticated, elegant, and beauty. So all of those artistic characteristics we define, right? But they solve a specific problem. Maybe it uses less wood, or maybe that faucet has it uses less water. One of my favorite examples of this is this tool here. I'll pull it up. The Dyson hand dryer, right? Oh, look, they even elevated. I think it was called the Blade. Yeah. Let's look at their hand dryers. And all of this, what we're doing here is as you explore design and as you explore creativity and approaching building software, I would almost encourage you to look at other industries, because what this is doing is this is helping you build your muscle. And you don't even have to be a designer, right? You don't need to be a designer, but you want to think like a designer, right? Because when you learn how to think like a designer, you're allowed to provide really good, high quality context to your building tool of choice, whether it's Cursor, Windsurf. We use Cursor here. And context is king. Context is king because context is your ability to provide substance for that AI model. More context you can bring, the more quality context you can bring, the better the output. So let's look at this. Let's look at good design here, right? So look at this thing. I don't know if you've ever I've seen these in airports, but let's look at this, right? What is this solving? Before this, we had hand dryers. I mean, we had hand dryers. I had the crappy ones. Let's see. We could pull up the crappy ones. Let's see if we can find it. Crappy commercial. I think it's white hand dryer. You remember those things? It's just funny. Had these in elementary school. Let's pull up images. These things. Oh yeah, these here. Here we go. Right here. So look, the World Dryer. Now these were clutch. These were probably innovative in their time. I mean, I'm sure we've all have seen something like this in a bathroom, on a road trip. But Dyson could have came in the market and been like, oh well, hand dryers are oversaturated. Why would I want to build a hand dryer that's oversaturated? And remember, when we talk about design, at its core, what is it doing? It's solving problems, right? So when I look at this, perhaps there could be a number of problems here. I mean, this thing is called World Dryer, so perhaps the energy consumption here is a lot, right? Um, this thing could probably run up your electricity bill. So that's interesting. So that's a problem there. If I run a restaurant and I don't want to necessarily spend a lot of money on hand towels. Now, when you go into the elevated spots, it's actually kind of slick. You go in there and they give you a legit hand towel. If you really want to step your game up, take your spouse or your partner to one of those restaurants, and typically there'll be like a little guy in the back with some I forgot what they call it, but some mints and a cologne or spray, and they'll give you an actual legit hand towel that you dry your hands off, and then you put it in a hamper, and they go and wash them. So that's pretty slick. But I digress. So if I'm Dyson and I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking about, well, I'm in the business of product design now. There's two schools of product design. There's the product design that you build digital products and software, kind of what we're doing here, SaaS, micro SaaS, whatever trendy, right? You want to call it, applications. But then there's product design for actual physical goods, and those range from this dryer we see here to um, vacuum cleaners. It doesn't matter, right? But there's a whole field about that, and a lot of that product design that you see, that you feel and touch, that's usually the physical product design, and that's what we're talking about here. So as Dyson, I can see this and be like, okay, well, perhaps this is consuming a lot of energy, right? And I can improve on its energy consumption. Another thing, right? If I go into a restaurant and I dry my hands with this, inevitably there's going to be water all over the floor, right? That could be a slip hazard. That can just make my establishment not feel as clean and posh. And so that's a huge opportunity in itself. And so we could play it from, like, if we're, let's say we're Dyson, let's do a little role play here. I can easily use the angle of, well, by using these, you're actually making your establishment more dangerous because now water gets all over the floor underneath this thing. Boom, right there. So now, as Dyson, I come in and I build let's see if we can find it. We'll build the air blade. Now, what's cool about this air blade is when you put your hand in it, there's this little groove down here that captures the water. Perfect for, you know, high traffic areas. Look, it's got a HEPA air filter. Look at this. We talked about energy. Now over 25% more energy efficient. Look at that. Remember we called that out here? Like, this probably uses a lot of energy. So I'm going on and on about this because I want to hammer it in your guys' head that when you build something, or when you're exploring an opportunity, or you're solving a problem, better yet, it's better to not look at, oh, is it saturated? Is there too many people? Is there too many competitors? Because if you think like that, you'll never be successful, because you'll never go and take the risk. And I think we've become soft. We want everything to be easy. We want the road ahead to be easy. We want the industry to be easy. And I have to stress that if you want things easy, you're not going to have a viable business, because it's easy for a if it's easy for you, it's easy for a competitor with money to come in and just take your market share. So, with that being said, I want to just make sure that you guys all understand, like, as we go through this journey of building this tool, um, I'm not looking at it from a who, is this industry is saturated, and is this um, if it's easy. And to be honest, this tool actually was inspired by another tool, and I've talked about it in the past, my past episodes. Um, is This tool was intended for me to use internally, and as I grow my company and as I build my team, it was going to be an internal tool. And it probably will start there. As our team grows and as I build out my brand and my company, we'll have this as a proprietary tool. And then once the designer Malcolm community gets kind of fleshed out and we grow it, I'll offer it as a tool for my community to use. Um, but as I pondered the other day about, well, if I'm going to put some time into this, I want to go all the way. I want to go hard. So I decided to think about this, and we're gonna work this through a normal sort of design process, the product design process. And I feel that what's best is we really treat this like this is a tool that we're going to use and market because we are. And we need to do the work up front. Now, I'm a little guess I guess old school if you want to say, because I like the design process. Um, I like doing the work up front to really think about what I'm building, what problem I'm solving before hopping straight into AI. Now, you can use AI for all of this. I personally don't. I mainly use AI. I leverage AI for um for the development part just because it's not my strength. But what I want to do is let's before we start hopping in here and we start vibe coding because we love to vibe code, we love the vibes, right? Let's do some due diligence because what we want to mitigate here is we want to mitigate error. We want the least amount of error as possible as we start to hop into our tool. And the way we mitigate error is by having a process to follow and having context, rich context that we can build out to provide our tool of choice to leverage. So when I thought about Builder, right, when I thought about this tool Builder, let's go ahead and close this. When I thought about this, initially, it was meant for me. And I thought about, well, who am I? What do I do? Well, I'm a designer, and my strength isn't code. My strength isn't development. And I'm pretty sure that there are multiple designers out there who maybe make beautiful UI components, but will never probably build a product because their limitation stops there. And so I identified that as my ICP. So we're going to walk through the product design process. And I went over this, and this will be free game. I don't know if you guys vibe with Virgil Abloh, one of the goats. He was the head designer over at Louis Vuitton, and he had a website called Free Game. And Free Game was lit because he would give you guys designers, people who wanted to get into fashion or get into whatever creative field, he'd give them free game on how to move. And so I'm gonna give you guys some free game, some sauce, and we're gonna go through this design process and we're gonna really flesh out this concept of builder, right? And we're gonna make this into a viable product that we're gonna go ahead and monetize eventually after we get it built out. So I think a good place to start is we'll work through this, and this is a framework that I've built, customized, and we will work it through. So it's not going to be completely linear, and if you're interested into this stuff, drop a comment, um, drop a goat. I want a goat in the chat for goated, and I'll share this with you guys. It'll require you guys to give up a little skin in the game, put some skin in the game, and I'll give you guys some skin in the game. And that skin will probably be, you know, joining my community or hopping on my email list so we can stay in contact and really communicate with each other. But if you're interested in this process and you want it a more concrete or you want access to it, I'll be happy to share with you guys a link to it. But anyway, we're gonna take Builder. We're gonna take it through this process. Now, I don't want to be disingenuous here. Because I've picked up the skill set of working fast, and this isn't my first tool that I've built. This is probably my 10th tool that I've built this year. So I'm a little bit ahead. And so what I'm doing is I'm regressing. We're going to go backwards and we're going to just think about it objectively and then kind of do this as a thought exercise before we get into vibe coding. And it'll help us kind of refine the approach here. But it's meant to be a guide to help you guys as you build along, or if you guys are trying to vibe code a SaaS. The intent here is to help you guys improve your thinking and how you approach a tool to build for your audience. So anyway, we have Builder, right? So this is Builder, and I think what'll be a good process to kind of hop into here is we're not gonna do research. Um, we know kind of what it is um, what we're defining, right? I've already done the research on my own case study, and typically I would advise if you are building something and this is your first tool, if it's a tool that you don't want to monetize and it's something that you want to just have as, sort of a pet project, if you want to have as a, little side thing or an improvement for your life, I would highly recommend to well, I don't recommend this, but I would say it's okay to build something for yourself to solve your own problem. I think that's completely fine. But if you really want to go hard and you want to take this serious and you want to build a revenue stream for yourself and for your family, I would recommend that you don't build for yourself. I think that's the stupidest advice that you can get and that people give. I believe you do have those edge cases, those one-offs where it's successful. People build for themselves and it becomes a solution that most or a lot of people want to use. But I don't think that's a smart way to approach a new SaaS tool if you're trying to go to market and trying to build revenue. And the reason why is because it's easy to think that we're the center of our own world, and it's easy to think and believe that our problem is that big enough to where a lot of other people have that same problem, enough for us to make revenue and money off of it to improve our life. And that may be the case, but that's a harder mountain to climb. So I would say as you approach your tool or your SaaS that you're looking to vibe code, I would say find an industry that has a really strong pain point and go attack. And I think that is the best approach for your first product, right? For your second product, third product, fourth product, sure. And this is my 10th. So this is why I'm building this and I'm putting a lot of energy into this because this is my 10th product that I'm using to address a personal problem that I have as a designer. Now, um, I do know that the design industry is large and there are plenty of other designers who probably have the same problem as me, and that's kind of why I'm confident in our ability to market this thing and sell this. But it did start from a place of answering my own solutions. I do have another product that I have that's getting ready to go to launch, and it's in a completely different industry that I, believe it or not, I'm not really passionate about. And that's okay. I don't need to be passionate about it, but I am passionate about the problem that I'm solving, and I am able to add my own flavor, my own style of design and approach to their solution, different than any of the incumbents. So, with that being said, let's take Builder through this process. And so, we're not going to go here, we're not going to do any research because I have enough research. Um, the next step here is empathize, be the user. I am the user, right? I am the persona. And we can kind of talk about what that persona is. I'm not going to necessarily flesh it out. Um, and this is why, if you can tell, why I'm not going to go through all these because most of this stuff has already been done. But let's talk about it. So the persona is designer, right? That's the persona we have. And if this is confusing you, this is meant to be a process for within an organization. So if you work for a company, if you are at an organization, you can definitely leverage this as a way to sort of help guide you through your UX process. So when you see deliverables, essentially what will happen here is as you go through your process, you'll create deliverables. And these deliverables are what you would give your stakeholders, right? So who are your stakeholders? Well, your stakeholders are everybody in your organization that is a part of the product that you're building. And this actually is this is true to whether you're in an organization or you're a one-man team, because you want to have processes in place as you scale. Now, if you decide to stay sort of like a solo tech guy, maybe this doesn't matter to you, or a solopreneur. But I'm all about building businesses and building systems, and that's the type of energy we want to bring here, um, at least within my group and then within my audience. You know, we're here to build some software, right? We're here to build some tools that that can change our life, that can be a business. And so you want to have processes like this. So if you're a product designer or a designer, or even not, um, deliverables is mainly the physical assets that accompany this. So I digress there. But right now we're gonna spend some time today on the empathize empath, empathize part of the process. So with the empathize part is we're gonna be the user. So since I am the user, I don't need to be it, but we're gonna think about what this means. So what do we know about context? Gain an understanding of the environment and of the people. How are people getting by with their current solution? Identify friction points, find, listen, and synthesize any user feedback. So we want to have some contextual observation here. We're going to do a little bit of fact finding. We could do some stakeholder interviews. This isn't necessary for our use case. And then we're going to develop some user stories as well as some task flows. So today we are going to do these task flows, and so I'll take you guys through that. But let's stop here and let's kind of park our car here at personas. So we have builder, and we can go for the entire vibe marketing or vibe coding market, right? Where any and everybody, their mom, their dog is trying to vibe code, and we want them, right? We could go for that large market share, or we can distill who our customer is. And so I think the best approach is what we're going to do is we're going to design this tool for designers, right? And it's a specific type of designer we're looking for. We're looking for not just the UI people who just create really cool, pretty applications, these people, right? And it's not applications, I mean UI components. And we'll pull them up here. A lot of people, and it's fine because it's better to, it's better to stay in your lane if that's where you want to be at. But a lot of these people here, they're really good at building really cool looking screens. And I want to be honest with you, in the real world, none of this shit matters. Like how pretty these buttons and this UI looks, none of this matters. This can obviously elevate your application to be more professional, but if your application isn't solving a problem and it's not a large enough problem where people are willing to swipe their credit card, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can take a look back in time to show you my point. I think let's look it up. Twitter back in the day. Yeah, let's do the Wayback Machine. Way, yeah, Wayback Burgers. Nah, let's go Wayback Machine, and then let's search Twitter. This is a cool tool, by the way. If you guys don't know what it is, if you want to look at the history of any website, um, you can pull it up here. Let me see where it's at. Hmm. Web Twitter. So we want, trying to pull up the old school Twitter. So I think this is this. We want this. Let's go back. Damn, 1997? No way. That doesn't make any sense. Nah, we want Twitter. Give us Twitter. Trying to find this. Bear with me. Hopefully, nothing crazy shows up with X.com. We know Elon. Twitter. Why isn't this pulling up? Yeah, this is crazy. I can't figure out how to get there because it wants to redirect me to Twitter. All this to prove a point. All right, let's see. Let's go to 2001. Maybe we just click that. That should be it right there. All right, yeah, 2001, 2001, 2002. Twitter popped off. Look at this. It was called Doists, the leading web biz development. Nah, no way. Let's see. No way this was it. Hold up. This is crazy. Why? Okay. Back to the same issue. All right. We're going to figure this out. This this website's terrible. If I were any of you guys out there watching this, I would rebuild this. Wayback Machine is trash. Like it's cool and all, but it's just so old, man. And this is why. Because it's I guess it's a free project, whatever. Terrible UI, Twitter. Spell Twitter. The problem with this is it takes me back to what X was, the website X. And Elon hasn't always owned X, I don't think. See what I mean? Like this is terrible. Maybe I can do it from here. Let's see what it looked like back in 2006. I think it was different, but let's see. Yeah, look at this. All right. This was Twitter back in 2006. And granted, times were different, but yeah, this was Twitter. This is classic. And what was the problem they solved? Well, allowing people to get their ideas out, something that had never been done before on the internet, and make it social, right? So this was Twitter. My point is, so let me bring it home. Here's my point. None of this matters. None of this matters. Now, the cool thing is you can get this level of design from day one, but with AI, especially, easily. But what you want to be careful here is you don't want to get too caught up in this. You want to focus more on these right here. So your task flows, and if they're solving the problem that you're seeking to solve, right? So what do we do now? So we're going to spend some time here, and we're going to create some task flows. We're going to create some user task flows. So let me get a Miro board here. So let me get this set up real quick. And real quick, if you're just hopping in and you're joining, I want to say thank you guys. Please throw a like, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me produce this content to help you guys become better designers, creators, and entrepreneurs at the end of the day. So let me go ahead and get this Miro board set up, and then we're going to tackle user flows for this tool that we're building here called Builder. So just give me a minute. All right, let me share this with you guys. See what we got going on here. And if you're here on a Friday locked in with me, I gotta say, you guys are winners. You could be doing anything else, but you're learning, growing. So let's see. So Miro is a good tool. You can use any whiteboarding tool out there. If you get real saucy, you can build your own. But we'll just go with Miro because this is what I've been using. And let's see if we can find any of these will work. So I don't want to spend too much time here. Let's see if I can type in user flows. Yeah, perfect. So we don't want screen flow. So be careful here. We're not doing these because we're not worried about the screens right now. And for our application, and let me sign in here actually so we can see. I was able to pretty much get this in a couple shots. So we have all of our screens. So we don't need to, we can skip the step of low fidelity, high fidelity, which is what I talked about, which is really nice. I don't know if I believe my design community folks, they probably still go the same old school way, which is fine. But if you want to get your product out there, and this is, what I'm looking to build here is a community of individuals who are trying to build tools and software. I'm just coming from a design angle because that's my background. But ultimately, what we're looking to do is build a software tool that can We can run a business. We can generate income, change our life, right? That's the goal, right? We want to change our life, level up. We're trying to level up here. All right, so we don't need this. I don't know. I haven't been in Miro in a while. We really don't need this right now because this diagram here will be more than enough context. And remember the goal. So let me back up here before we dive in too deep. But the goal here is to build rich context for our AI tool that we're going to use to vibe code. And I highly recommend that before you build anything, you want to do the due diligence up front. You want to allow yourself to think through your idea, flesh out your idea, and I walk you through what that looks like from a product design um, standpoint, right? The product design process. So we this process you want to run your product through your SaaS, right? Now, you're not going to do all of this sequentially or all at once because, like I said, the tools now we have at our hand is really powerful. But right now, where we've landed at here is the emphasize. And as a thought exercise, we're going to take our tool builder and we're going to take it through this. And so, what I want to say here is really, if you take the time before you hop into these tools and you get extremely excited and you start trying to build and start telling AI what you want to build, you're going to run into some problems. You're going to run into them fast, really fast. Um, and one of those problems is what's called spaghetti code. And I've spoken about this, and it's quite a funny name for it because I think the analogy is spot on. And what is spaghetti code? Well, spaghetti code is when you're building with AI and you don't know what the hell's going on, and then you start running into a bunch of problems, problem after problem after problem after problem. And think of it as like a messy bowl of spaghetti, right? You don't know where one problem starts and where it ends. And so by us following this process, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to help us to navigate our conversation with the AI as we start to build our tool. So we're going to start with user flows. And the way you want to think about user flows are these are blueprints. These are blueprints of specific actions that a user takes in your tool. And so we've already mapped out our tool. We have a lot of our tool pretty much fleshed out. And so what we want to do here is we want to go through these specific actions and just kind of map them out here. And we're doing this because this is going to be great context, rich context that we can leverage inside of our application. I'm giving you guys game. You don't even got to go to college for this. If you just rock with me for a little bit, you will be a good product designer and you'll build your own stuff. All right, so let's see what we got. So this is kind of just a bunch of templates here, and we don't really want all this. So what I'm going to do is copy this. Let's just paste it again. All right. So we'll have this be our actually we'll make this be like our little component library. Let's put that here. So we can just grab elements. I'm going to delete that. What I deleted was this. Actually, for good practice, I'll just keep it just in case, but we don't need this really. It's really more about helping you flesh out your idea. But we don't really need that. Right now we're using Miro. So if you have any questions about what this tool is called, it's called Miro. It's a whiteboarding tool. You don't have to use Miro. I've used Miro professionally. It works, but all these tools are pretty much the same. The cool thing about Miro is you got these templates in place that you can leverage. All right, so let's hop over here. So we have Builder. Now, I think the most important component of the first user flow we want to identify here is just the simple account creation to dashboard flow, right? Like how do they end up here? So if we get out of here, I think I can just back out. Yeah. So we go back to our board here, and let's see. All right, let's rock. So we want to delete these. Let's delete all these. Delete, delete. So this is cool because what they have for us here is these yellow blocks that we can use as our screens, right? And the screens are the destinations in theory where they end up at, where the person ends up at. Let's see if they have a. Let's see if they have a. No, they don't. So we'll create our own user matrix, our own user icon. All right. Okay, so let's move this here, move this here. We'll just kind of work what we're going to do is we're going to work ourselves from left to right. One trick here in Miro that I like to do is I like to lock this board so that way we can just maneuver. You see the difference here is like now I can freely kind of mess around inside of this versus if I'm up in here. Let's see. Yeah, if I'm up in here, like I can accidentally click the board. Some really helpful shortcuts here. I'm a huge fan of shortcuts. And let me get off the screen so you guys can see more of this. Some pretty good helpful shortcuts are the H. So if you press H, that's your hand, and that just allows you to kind of grab the board and move it around. If you hold Control and scroll, that's your zoom in, zoom out. So you can kind of zoom in, zoom out, and you can do that from the H with your hand and grab it. And then V. So V puts the clicker back and it allows you to kind of select items, your selector tool. All right, enough of that. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to map out the user flow for our login. And I'm all about you want to label your stuff here. So let's rename this. We can. How do you rename it? I think it's here. Yeah, whatever. Maybe it's not. We'll figure it out. All right. So this is our user. So we're going to start with our user, and let's just call it. Zoom in here. We'll call it user. So this will be our universal user icon, right? So you'll see that throughout our flows, and we'll just make him blue. Okay. Now let's go back to our application here. Now, look, you don't have to do this. This is a little bit of overkill, but I'm trying to help you guys think about product design and the best approach. And if you do a lot of this up front, it will really help you when you go to build your product. Now, you can easily prompt the AI to do this for you, right? Hey, map out a user flow for my product for a user who is logging in and signing up. But the reason why I'm showing you this exercise is because it'll allow you to understand how to communicate with the AI tool. Okay. So we have our user. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Okay. So there's a button here, right? So user, there's start building, and there's sign in. In theory, these are going to be, no, they're not going to be the same because this is going to take our user to a sign up page, and this is going to take our user to a sign in page. So that's what we're identifying here. So user goes to our website, and if we want to get a little more nuance, we can put, let's do this. Another trick here is if you want to duplicate your screen, Alt. So you can click it and hold Alt, and it allows you to make more of these. So this is the user. He ends up on our home screen, right? Boom. You can take that arrow and connect it there. And then we'll call this home screen, right? Home screen. From that home screen, it's going to be a button. Two. There's going to be two buttons. Let's bring it over here. Right? Let me see. Should we go up or down? And we'll just go. We'll just freehand it. All right. So let's see here. So if you remember yesterday, I talked about these user flows help you identify what screens to build. Remember that? Now, the beautiful thing with AI is we kind of have our screens already ready, so we won't really need to do much design here. We can do design later, really tighten it up, make it look unique to us. But for our buttons, we have our sign in. And then we have our get started. I think it's called get started, right? Start building. I like that start building. It's in a action call to CTA, like an action based call to action. So it's just putting emphasis on like let's get the process going. Like you want to start building. Those are little copy things. I'm not a professional copywriter by any means, but what I can say is the more direct action prompting language you can use in specific elements of your marketing, it really helps. Okay. And then I think we can come here. Let's see. So I don't know. Because we're going to need this to be. It's been a minute since I've used. Let's see. Hmm. There's got to be a way to add. Oh, that's. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there you go. All right, so if you get stuck there trying to split off your arrow, you come here, and I think it's from, where's that? Hold on. Just had it. Oh, okay. Here you go. So you don't want to, you can't split your arrow from the arrow. You have to split it from the canvas. So you click on your object that's you're pulling the arrow from, and then you click that little spot, and then you can go ahead and add that. Cool. Boom. We're in it. All right. From there, it might even be better to go up and down. Hold on. Let's do this. It'll be crazy. These can get pretty crazy. I always say if you, it doesn't really matter. The reality of it is it's for your context and it's for your your AI model, your AI tool that you're using. But this is a good exercise. This is architecting your user experience, right? This is a very useful skill to have in this in being a product designer or even just building tools and software. You want to know what it is your users are doing and where they are going. You have to. Here we go. Boom. Okay. All right. So we have our sign in home screen. So there's going to be two. The reality of it is there can be. Um, let's think about this here. We'll continue moving forward. Okay, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. All right. So user goes to the home screen, they click sign in, or they're gonna click start and build, right? That's pretty much there's no because you have these decision elements here, and they don't really come into play just yet. Um, and I'll explain how to use those in a minute. Once again, let me hop in here real quick. If you are new, if you're just now joining us, my name is Designer Malcolm. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to this studio sessions live stream. This will be a series that we're gonna carry on and continue um, until we get to a place where we feel we don't need to do them anymore. But this is just for the journey. And what we're doing in this studio session is we are building a tool called Builder. And if you're just now joining us, what we've decided, or what I've decided, is that this tool is initially it was meant to be for just me as a designer myself, who's, I would almost say, a design engineer. I build software. Um, and we've come to a point that we want to identify who our ideal customer is for this product. And that luckily is myself. So I can use myself as an example. I'm a designer who also builds software. So that is our customer. And we're using our UX process here, which is our product design process. And we are taking this product through the product design process before we really hop in and get deep into the um, vibe coding. And some people may do things a little different, but this method I find to be extremely helpful when you are building and working with AI, because what it does is it allows you to build out some rich context that you can leverage inside of your application to hopefully mitigate the amount of errors that may surface as you build with these tools. I like to tell people to think of working with AI as like having a brilliant blind genius, right? It is your job as the prompter, it is your job as the creator, the builder, to provide as much context, to provide as much of an explanation and clarity to these tools to help achieve what your goal is. Now, this series is for people who want to build with vibe coding as a hobby, or if you're looking to build with the intent to create a business. I'm building, and I always put my time into things with the intent to build to create a business. So if you're enjoying the content, if you're enjoying the vibes here, please subscribe, like, and comment. All your support is helpful. We do have some merchandise. I am a fashion designer by trade. That's what I studied. But I've done product design professionally. And so with that, I have to always throw in some fire. So if you want some winter gear, it's channel merchandise. It's available in the description. If you want to start doing your own live stream and your own journey as well, building in public, I have a link in the description to StreamYard. So I just started using StreamYard. Pretty fire. Great tool to use if you want to start putting out content as well. So once again, glad you're here, and let's hop back into these user flows. All right, so we are on our home screen. So user goes in, and we're gonna want the way we want to approach this is we want to just kind of focus on one thing at a time, because what you're going to have here is you're going to have your sign in, and this could be a couple things. We can throw in a decision here. And the decision is has account, right? The user needs to decide, well, actually, let me think about this. It would be forgot password, I believe. Yeah, forgot password. Yeah. So that's important, right? Because we need to think about, some users may forget their password, so they sign in, and then, um, and actually their sign in is going to take them to this screen first, right? That's important. So this is the sign in screen. Sign in screen. Spell screen wrong. And from this sign in screen, the user is gonna have to decide, well, if they forgot their password, right? So if they forgot their password, and let me make this canvas a little larger. So we can come here, let us unlock this. Oh, right here. So we're going to unlock this page here, and we're just going to scale this just to be a little bigger. And then we'll come back, we'll lock this. Okay. So this specific user flow is our sign in flow, right? Our sign in and sign up flow. We're gonna have multiple user flows. All right. So user goes to home screen, they sign in, they're at the sign in screen. Obviously, we're gonna have a sign up screen, right? Sign up screen, or we can call this create account screen. From there, right? So that's where the start build button will take them. It'll take them to the create account screen. And then the user will create their account. Now, the reason why this is good, because you can kind of flesh out any nuances that can easily be overlooked, right? So I'll explain that in a minute here, but let's finish the sign in screen. So if they sign in, they forgot their password. And let's actually, so we'll make a copy of this. Put yes here. We'll make this one green. We'll actually put no. So this is kind of weird because no is actually a positive, right? Yes means they did forget their password. So we'll go here. How should we structure these? We'll just go like that. We'll keep flowing down. All right. So boom, boom. So let's think about this. If a user forgets their password, what happens? Well, we need an action, right? We need another action. Okay. So what is that action? We all know when we forget our password, what happens? Well, let's take this. All right. So let's think about this. They forget their password. Well, what's going to come before here, right? Well, we're going to have another screen, right? And that screen will be a forgot password screen. Or no, it won't be a forgot password screen. It'll be like a credential input credential screen. I'll just call it that. That's probably quite wordy, but input credential screen. Now, I can't stress this enough. If you take the time to do this, and it might take you a few days, and you can have AI assist you here, but you will. I'm telling you, if you do this, and specifically your user flows, if you map out your user flows, it'll allow you to build super fast if you take the time to do this. Because what I've noticed is, as you build stuff, a lot of times the AI knows it, but they'll just as it's trying to one shot or trying to just scaffold your project, um, it'll have what's called like a lot of placeholder stuff. Now I'm sure as these models get better, um, it'll improve, but it can at times, like depending on the model, and you have to use certain models to achieve certain things, or certain models do things better than others, but um it'll not fully account for a lot of the things you may need as a within your application. So by doing your user flows, it allows you to it allows you to kind of just account for anything that could be overlooked. And it also forces you, as the builder of this tool, to think about every little aspect of your application. So right now I'm just making this a little larger, making it a little larger for our exercise here. So let's go ahead and we're gonna go and lock this once again, and we will get our selector tool. Okay, and now I don't want to do that. So right now, just so we know, we're working on our sign in, sign up, right? So now we can come back here. We have a little more space to work with. And as a matter of fact, we can actually probably make this a little smaller if we want to get there. Okay. Boom. All right. So input credential screen is what we call that here. I'm going to take this. A nice thing too is, like, you can do this with pencil and paper. Um, Typically I would probably do that first and then put it in here. When you're in an organization, doing it in a tool like Miro or some sort of whiteboarding tool, it just allows you to share it across your organization. So that's why I'm doing it in this. But you can do this in pencil and paper. You can do this on any of those, you know, paper note tablets. I actually have a Remarkable, which I love. Um, Shout out to Remarkable. I don't have any. I'm not sponsored with them or anything, but it's a paperless tablet. It uses that paper white ink, so you can sketch this up on there. And what's cool with the more Remarkable is you can convert that drawing into a PDF and then email that PDF across your organization. So um, pretty neat tool there. All right, so let's get back to our user flow. All right, they forgot their password, and let's see. I'm a little neurotic with stuff like that. Didn't like the D on the bottom there. All right, so we're gonna have they forgot their password. This black diamond thing. This is a decision, right? The user has to make. So if they do forget it, we have to account for that forgot password or what that screen looks like when they do click forgot password, and it's an input credential screen. Now, the nice thing here is you can add notes to this, and there's a few different ways you can handle, or a few different ways we can handle forgot password. And let me show you what I mean. Uh, See, this is actually a good reason why we're doing user flows, because I kind of one shotted this. And as you can see, there is no forgot password. I don't even think we have a sign in page. Watch, I'll show you. Oh, we do. Look at that. So we do have a sign up page. Cool. Let's see if we got our forgot password page. Look at that. Nope, we don't. So this is an example of what I mean when you kind of flesh this out. And what can happen is you can start building out features and functionalities, and you can completely forget that you need a forgot password, right? And like this is something that user flows really helps you with, right? Before you even get to this, I jumped the gun because I've been building a lot of tools, so I know what to think through and what to kind of expect and what to look for and what's needed. But if you're new to this stuff, this right here, this is gonna save you, right? Because you can get like imagine how terrible it would be if you launched this product live without a forgot password flow. So you don't have to have the knowledge to really flesh all this out, and you can have AI assist you here, but you want to think about this because let me just kind of recap what this is doing is this is helping us build context again, and I want to reiterate that. And it's allowing us to really define what screens we're going to need, right? These little yellow blocks are the screens we're going to need. We're going to need a home screen, which we have. You saw that. We're going to need a sign in screen, which we have. Um, and I don't think we even have, like, let's see if we have a create an account screen. Let's see. This just takes us to the dashboard itself. But let's see if we have a create an account. Don't have an account, sign up for free. Let's see. Nope, we don't. So look at that. We don't even have we have a sign in screen, but we don't have a forgot password screen, and we don't have a sign up screen. So this is great because now this is allowing me to go back, and what I can see here is I can kind of make this. Let's change the color here. Let's make it red, and I'm giving it a red color because it's just sort of it's a key for me to know. Okay, we need this screen. This is the screen we need. Let's go there. Boom. And you can make a key to help you. Um, keep track of what. But for simplicity reasons, we'll just go green and red. So green means we have the screen. So we'll click that. So green means we have it. All right. Red means we don't. So we have our sign in screen. Okay, that's the screen we have. We don't have our create account screen. We don't have our input credential screen. We could just call this, that's a little wordy. This is really our forgot password screen. This P-word screen. So we don't have that. Make that red. Okay. All right. So we need to do our other screen. So if they forgot password is no, then this ends. So this ends that flow, right? Obviously, if they didn't forget their password, this particular flow ends. And so what we can do is grab one of these elements here. Let's go here. And we'll just put, I could have just done this. We'll just put end. We'll make that end yellow. That'll be good. So we'll give it that yellow color. Ooh. Let's make that font black so we can see what we're talking about. Now, the reality of it is if it's this ends the flow essentially, and we could be a little more nuanced here and say, well, if it ends, right, it in theory it can shoot them back up to here to the sign in screen, but we don't need to do that. Just it's clear, like if they hit this page and like they click forgot password, obviously if it's no, that ends. So we'll just end that here. And then what we'll do next is from the forgot password screen. So we can do a couple things here. We can go. Let's think about this. The nice thing about this is it forces you to think through what your user actions are, and it's extremely helpful. Like I haven't done this recently. I usually just kind of hop in and do this on the fly, but this really is helpful for thinking of how users flow through your application. And I highly recommend anyone building a SaaS tool, whether you're a product designer or not, to go through this exercise. So once the user hits the forgot password screen, remember this is a decision. So we'll just call this user submits. Let's call this credentials. Credentials. What should we call this? Credentials submitted. We'll just call it that. Oh, I should probably zoom in here so you guys can see what's going on. So let me, my fault. Let's zoom in so we can get a little bit. All right, so the user gets here, right? All right, user goes through the forgot password. Yes, they go to our forgot password screen. Credentials submitted. So we need to have our two actions here. And this is going to be the end of the flow, right? Because after they submit their credentials, they don't need to do anything else. Now we could get a little more nuanced here and put, oh shit. Let's see. Let's copy this. Boom, boom. Command C. We'll go down here. Now, what I was saying is we can get a little nuanced here, and when they submit their credentials, right, we can obviously there's going to be some sort of email here that they'll probably get. I'll do that. That's cool. Boom. Okay. So that's the flow here, right? Credentials submitted, yes. can end. So we need to make another one of these guys, right? This is the end of this particular flow or path that our user's taken, right? So we'll end it here for them. Now, as I mentioned, and this probably it would be helpful, right? But typically, if you're working with, let's say, you're working with a road developer, they get it. They know once this is submitted, it ends, and they'll probably set up some sort of email tool like resend. So we use resend, love it, great tool, or something, some sort of logic here. But if it ends, so if and actually we need to change the colors here. So this is yes. So this is green. I think it's yeah. And if it's no, so we want to think about what happens when they don't submit their credentials, right? There's a few ways we can take it here. So typically, think about when you encounter a forgot password experience. You usually are. It's probably a screen that's on some sort of timer, and that timer it allows you to refresh and get new credentials sent to your email. Not credentials, but like whether it's a code or something, or it'll just take you back home. So we want to flesh that out. So like let's say credentials are not submitted. So like what does that look like? Well, we can have our screen. So let's have a screen here, and the screen won't be made. Oh, shit. And actually, I think I messed up because we're gonna need a credential submitted screen. No, we have that. We have that. We have that. All right. Forgot. No, do we? Let's think about this. Forgot password screen. Yeah, that is our credential submitted screen, right? Because they put their email in there or phone number. Then we define if credentials are submitted, right? And if they are submitted, yes, then that ends. If they're not submitted, then what we can do is we can do this here. So we can take this and have them go back up to here, right? So that can be a way we attack that. All right. I think that's enough for tonight, guys. I think we put about a good hour and a half in. This was a great exercise. Tomorrow or maybe Monday, depends on how I'm feeling. I might take the weekend off, but we're going to continue to flesh out all of our user flows. Remember, once again, we're building this tool. It's called Builder for now. Today, we kind of walk through our product design process before we start hopping in and vibe coding. You know, we need to know what we're doing. We need to have direction and clarity. And the goal is why we are doing this is we're trying to provide as much rich context for our AI models to use that way we can mitigate the errors that we're gonna inevitably encounter as we build these tools, as we build with these tools. So once again, I want to say thank you guys for joining. If you love this stuff, if you love what we're doing in this specific particular series, subscribe, like, and comment. I'm designer Malcolm, and it's been a pleasure. You know the vibes, and I will catch you guys later. I might pop in this weekend, depending on where I'm at, but you can for sure count on another session starting Monday. I like my weekends. That's just how I move. I will be working though. Don't get me wrong. So I'll probably put in some work, but I may not live stream it. May or may not be available. But I will have one scheduled for Monday. I'm typically gonna do these probably around this time, East Coast time, around 7. So I'll probably be. You can expect that. Give me some time, 7:30. I'm a one-man team, so I got to do all my setup. I usually put it up there for 7, but if if I'm late, I'm usually, about 7:15, 7:30. So I appreciate you guys if just be patient with me. As we continue this, you can bet that we will get better production. We will get better tools. I'll get more teammates to help grow. But this is the early days, so I want to say thank you guys for being with me. Hopefully, I'm bringing in a lot of value to inspire you guys. Look, this content and this series is meant to be for the people who are designers and for the people who aren't. My goal is to inspire you to use these tools that are available to us. We are in an amazing time of our lives right now where we can build software if that's your thing. If it's not, it's fine. But we can build anything, right? Think about that. You're in a time where you can build anything just by having conversations with computers. Let that sink, right? This has never been available to humankind. And if you squander the opportunity right now, you will regret it. I promise you that. Um, I also want to inspire you guys to stay positive, right? Stay positive, have an optimistic and abundance mindset because you will hear a lot of fear mongering. You will hear a lot of naysayers and negativity. That stuff is only going to bring you down because a lot of those people, those talking heads, they're not in it. They're not using the tools. They're not building with these tools. They're not. They're just. They're just bystanders that are full of fear, right? Also, want to encourage you guys to not be lazy. Get up and seize the day. Even if you have to work a full 8-hour day, come home and put in 2 hours. Lock in with me for a couple hours. Lock in with me for an hour. You're gonna pull some nuggets from this series, and it's gonna help you. And I want to inspire you, because you can build anything at this point in time. Look, I'm designer Malcolm. Cop you some designer Malcolm merch. Also, if you want some more, something a little different speed, I got a full series of some pretty dope fashion documentaries. If you're into that stuff, check that out. I kind of stopped, but I'm going to pick those back up. I have probably over 60 more of those that are coming over the next couple years, or over the next year, I should say. And so if you're into that, check that out. And like I said, I'm glad to have you guys here. Be on the lookout for the Designer Malcolm community. Be on the lookout for this builder tool that's coming. And I want to say thank you guys. God bless. Enjoy your weekend. I'm out.